I never imagined I'd be the one sharing a story like this. My name is Elise, I'm 36, and I single-handedly dismantled my marriage with what I, in my stunning naivety, thought was a genius idea. Looking back, I can't believe I was foolish enough to think Daniel would ever entertain it. But that's what happens when you let your daydreams run wild, when the routine of a secure life starts feeling like a trap. Daniel and I had been together for 9 years, married for 6. We lived in a charming Victorian house in Portland's Laurel House neighborhood, with tall windows framing misty evergreens and the ever-present drizzle of the Pacific Northwest. Daniel was the steady one, reliable, diligent, the kind of man who remembers your sister's anniversary and can rewire a faulty outlet without breaking a sweat. He was a civil engineer, a man of calculations, grids, and unyielding structure. His world was one of concrete plans and measured precision. He wasn't the most thrilling person, but he was mine. He was my anchor. And then there was Theo. I'd known Theo long before Daniel, back in our college days at Oregon State. There was always a spark between us, a quiet, electric pull that never fully faded. Theo was the path I didn't take, the lingering, what if that hovered in the back of my mind. He was a photographer, a free spirit who thrived in a world of light, shadow, and fleeting moments. He'd spent the last few years traveling through Lisbon, his life woven with tales of adventure that made my own seem painfully ordinary. It all began about a year ago when Theo moved back to Portland. The cruel irony? It was Daniel who suggested we all meet up for drinks. "Your old friend's back in town," he'd said with his usual warm sincerity. "Let's catch up." If only he'd known what he was setting in motion. That night at a cozy taproom in the Pearl District, I watched them. Daniel extended a hand, and they sized each other up in that odd, understated way men do. Daniel was courteous, asking about Theo's work in Lisbon, his latest projects. But I could sense he noticed something, a subtle shift women always pick up on. Across the table, Theo's glance lingered on me when Daniel stepped away to order another round. That look said it all. Familiarity, a trace of longing, and a flicker that hadn't died. It said, "I still know you." We met up a handful of times after that. Low-key gatherings, watching a Trailblazers game, grilling in our backyard on one of Portland's rare dry days, or strolling along the Willamette River. Nothing extraordinary, but there were moments. Theo would drop a reference to our college days, and I'd laugh a bit too loudly. Or he'd brush past me in the kitchen, his shoulder grazing mine for a split second, sending a forbidden thrill through me. Nothing happened. I'm not that kind of woman. But the possibility lingered, heavy and intoxicating. Like the scent of rain on pavement, I started thinking about Theo more often. I'd catch myself comparing Daniel's calm, predictable presence to Theo's sharp, creative energy. I'd weigh our quiet nights streaming nature documentaries against imagined evenings wandering Lisbon's cobbled streets. Just harmless daydreams, I told myself. Everyone fantasizes. But then I started keeping my phone closer, adding a lock code Daniel didn't know. I'd snap my laptop shut when I heard his footsteps. Nothing scandalous was happening, just friendly texts, shared playlists from our college days. But I knew Daniel wouldn't get the inside jokes or the late night you awake messages I swore were innocent. Mostly innocent, the idea hit me after too many glasses of Pinot Noir and a late-night dive into an online article about unconventional relationships. People do this now, it said, inviting a third person into their partnership. It had a trendy term, polyamory. And I thought, why not? Why settle for stability or excitement when I could have both? I know, I sound delusional. Maybe I was, but in my mind, it was perfectly logical. Daniel would be my foundation, my everyday partner. Theo would be the spark, the extra dimension. Everyone wins. I pictured Daniel as the primary, my husband, my rock. Theo would be the supplement, the adventure. I'd heard of a friend's colleague doing something similar, and their social media posts seemed happy enough. It wasn't like I was asking for the moon, just a slight tweak to our vows, a bit of flexibility in our definition of us. So, one Saturday evening, I slipped into the navy dress Daniel always loved. I cooked his favorite lemon herb risotto, a dish that demands slow, careful stirring. I uncorked a bottle of our finest Sauvignon Blanc and waited for the right moment. Looking back, I never once considered he'd refuse, let alone what actually unfolded. I thought I was about to solve everything, have it all. God, I was naive. I'd rehearsed my pitch a dozen times in the mirror that morning, aiming for a tone that was light, curious, not too intense. The dining table was perfect that night. Candles, our best plates, the risotto fragrant and steaming. Daniel came home from his engineering firm, flashing his usual weary smile. "What's all this?" he asked, eyeing the setup. "Do I need a reason to spoil my husband?" I replied, "All charm." He kissed my forehead and went to shower. I poured myself more wine for courage. Dinner went smoothly. I let him vent about a tricky bridge project, nodding while mentally running through my lines. Halfway through his story, I seized the moment. "Sweetheart," I said, taking his hand across the table. "I've been thinking about us lately." He lowered his fork, his hazel eyes curious. "That sounds heavy." "Not heavy," I said quickly. I've been thinking about how to keep things fresh after 9 years." I sipped my wine, aiming for a mix of playful and thoughtful. Some couples experiment a bit, open things up. Not dating other people separately, but together. Daniel set his fork down, his brow furrowing. "What are you getting at, Elise?" I dropped the pretense and blurted it out. "What if we invited someone else into our relationship? Romantically, I mean." The silence was deafening. The kitchen clock's ticking felt like a drumbeat. Daniel stared at me like I'd proposed torching the house. "You want a threesome?" he asked, his voice eerily calm. "No." I fumbled, cheeks burning. "Well, maybe down the line, but that's not it. I mean a real relationship, the three of us." He took a slow sip of water. "Is this hypothetical, or do you have someone in mind?" My pulse raced. This was the moment. "Actually, yeah. I was thinking maybe Theo." Daniel's face hardened, and I knew I'd miscalculated. But I kept talking, words spilling out as his expression turned to granite. "He knows us both, we all get along, and I think it could be special." "Are you sleeping with him?" His voice was low, lethal. "What? No. I'd never cheat on you." That was true, technically. It was just texts, flirty banter, fantasies. "But you want to," he said, not asking. "It's not about that." I lied. "It's about expanding our love, trying something new together." Daniel studied me, his gaze peeling back my defenses. Then he said he needed time to think, and went to bed early. I took it as a small victory. He hadn't said no outright. The next morning, I tried to act normal, curling up to him in bed. He asked, his voice flat, "How long have you had feelings for Theo?" By midnight, I was a wreck, bombarding his phone, contacting his coworkers, nearly calling the police. But deep down, I knew he wasn't missing. He just wasn't with me, his wife who'd suggested rewriting our marriage, a T2 a.m., a text, "Need space. I'm fine. Don't call." 9 years, reduced to 5 words that I spent the next day swinging between rage and fear. How could he vanish? What if he was hurt? Should I reach out to Theo? I didn't, sensing it would make things worse. On day 3, I heard his key in the lock. I was still in pajamas, glued to the couch, staring at my phone. Daniel looked rough, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, still in his work clothes. "Where were you?" I demanded, as if I had the right. "Driving. Thinking." His voice was hoarse. "Crashed at a motel near Salem." He sat across from me, not beside me. Bad sign. "You can't just disappear because of one conversation," I said. "One conversation?" He gave a hollow laugh. "Elise, you asked to bring your friend into our marriage. After months of you two flirting, hiding your phone, changing passwords, dropping his name constantly. Was I that obvious?" I mumbled. "Nothing happened. But you wanted it too," he said. "Don't lie to me now." I stared at my hands. "It's complicated." "It's not." He stood. "You have feelings for Theo. You want my blessing to act on them without losing me. You want me to say it's okay so you don't feel guilty." It sounded ugly when he put it like that. "I'm asking one more time," he said. "Do you love him?" I could have lied. I should have. Instead, I whispered, "I love you both." Daniel nodded, as if he'd expected it. He went to our bedroom, and I heard drawers opening. When he returned with a packed bag, I panicked. What are you doing? I'm staying with my cousin in Denver for a while. I need to figure out what I want. Don't go, I pleaded. We can forget this. We can talk. He looked at me, his eyes heavy with sorrow. That's the problem, Elise. We can't forget it. You can't undo what you feel, and I can't unhear what you said. At the door, I grasped at straws. We promised no cheating, no divorce. Those were our rules. He paused. Funny how you remember one, but not the other. I didn't cheat. I cried. Didn't you? He asked softly, and the door clicked shut. 2 weeks of silence followed. I called out sick so often my job stopped asking when I'd return. I wandered our empty house, replaying every mistake. I hadn't done anything wrong, had I? Feelings aren't cheating. Being honest should have counted for something. I tried explaining this to my brother, Mark, but he wasn't convinced. How would you feel if Daniel wanted to bring another woman into your marriage? He asked. That's different. I snapped, unable to explain why. After 3 weeks, I texted Theo. Hey, going through some stuff. Could use a friend. His reply stunned me. Heard you and Daniel are having problems. Probably best we don't hang out right now. Who told him? The humiliation stung worse than the rejection. I scoured Daniel's social media for clues. Nothing. But our mutual friends were posting supportive comments on his photos. Stay strong. We're here for you. No one was saying that to me. I called our friends, Sarah and Mike. Sarah was evasive. Yes, they'd heard. No, she didn't want to take sides. Yes, she'd talk to Daniel. No, she couldn't talk now. The world was closing in. Everyone knew. Everyone judged me. One night, after too much wine, I texted Daniel. I made a mistake. I miss you. Come home. I regretted it by morning, not because it wasn't true, but because it felt like giving up. He didn't reply until late. I miss you too. But I don't know how to come back from this. Hope and despair hit at once. He cared, but he saw no path forward. Days later, my brother dropped off groceries, urging me to get therapy. I brushed him off. I was the victim here, wasn't I? A month later, Daniel texted that he was coming for his things. I saw my chance. I cleaned the house, cooked his favorite risotto, put on makeup. If he could see me, remember us, he'd stay. But the Daniel who walked in looked different, healthier, sharper, like Denver had revived him. You look good, I said, trying to sound casual. Thanks, he replied, avoiding my eyes. I can't stay long. I made dinner, I said, gesturing to the kitchen. Can we talk? He hesitated but sat. We ate in silence, the risotto untouched. I launched into my speech. What I suggested was a mistake. I'm not confused anymore. I want us, just us. He looked at me. And Theo. Over, I lied. I haven't spoken to him. True, since he'd ignored me. Interesting, Daniel said flatly. Because he called me. Said you've been texting him, claiming I was open to a 3-way relationship, but you needed him to convince me. My stomach dropped. That's not true. He showed me the texts, Elise. I whispered. I was desperate. I was trying to fix this. Daniel stood. I came with divorce papers. I was going to give you time to get a lawyer. But now, I think it's better we don't drag this out. Tears fell. No, Daniel. We promised no divorce. You also promised fidelity, he said. You lied, manipulated, tried to rewrite our marriage without my consent. As he left, I begged, you can't throw away 9 years. He paused. I didn't stop loving you, Elise. You stopped loving just me. The door closed. That night, I posted a cryptic social media status about love and betrayal, tagging Daniel. Big mistake. I lost friends overnight. Daniel blocked me, and our mutual friends cut contact. The divorce finalized 6 months later. Daniel let me keep the house, but I couldn't afford it and sold it, moving to a Stark studio apartment. I heard Daniel got a promotion and stayed in Denver. Theo moved to Chicago for work, never reaching out. Mark kept checking on me, urging therapy. I resisted. I'd been honest, hadn't I? But at a company holiday party, everything shifted. I'd been at my new job a year, dodging questions about my personal life. My boss introduced me to the new regional director from Denver, Daniel, arm around a radiant woman named Lily, his new fiancée. "We've met," Daniel said coolly. "Good to see you, Elise." Lily smiled, oblivious. Daniel never mentioned knowing anyone here. Small world. I fled to the bathroom, hyperventilating. Daniel was thriving, engaged, my boss's boss. Over the next months, I watched his new life unfold. Lily adored, a new house, another promotion. I transferred to the company's Chicago office to escape. Daniel approved it instantly, his final email formal. Request granted. Best wishes. Packing, I found our wedding album. The woman in those photos was a stranger, blind to how she'd ruin everything. Mark texted, "Call when you're settled in Chicago." Fresh start to fresh start? I couldn't outrun my choices. Daniel had moved on, found real happiness. Theo was gone. And I was alone, in a new city, with a job tied to the man I'd lost, haunted by the life I'd destroyed chasing a fantasy that